Good morning. Find 1 Corinthians chapter 12. We're going to be at the end of chapter 12 and sort of beginning the first part of chapter 13. I don't know if anybody made any New Year's resolutions. That used to be a thing. I don't know if people do that much anymore, but here are some New Year's resolutions that you might actually keep. Spend more time watching television. Talk on the phone more. Read less. Gain weight and exercise less. Procrastinate more. Eat out more often. And finally, the last New Year's resolution that you might actually keep is pick up a new habit. Pick up a new habit. No one actually makes those types of resolutions. They'd be actually easy to keep. We make resolutions that are more difficult, like be nicer to others and lose weight and get things done on time and read my Bible and all those things. But this morning we're gonna talk about maybe 3 New Year's resolutions for our church, and we might have to share this or something on Facebook to get people to watch it, since we don't have a big crowd this morning. But find 1 Corinthians 12, if you would. As you're turning there, a pastor walked into a pet store and placed his order. Dawn, listen to this one. He said, "I need 50 mice, 2,000 ants, and as many of those little silverfish that you can get." The man at the pet store said, "Well, we can probably do that, but it might take some time. Mind if I ask why you're placing such an unusual order?" The pastor said, "I've accepted a call to another church, and the deacon board told me to leave the parsonage the way I found it." The pastor I worked with in Iowa said they had caught over 50 mice their first year that they were there. So I always thought that joke was funny, but I don't know if we ever had a mouse in the parsonage, but anyhow. 1 Corinthians chapter 12, starting in verse 27, I think is where we left off last week. It says, "Now you are the body of Christ and members individually. And God has appointed these in the church, first apostles, second prophets, third teachers, after that miracles, then gifts of healings, helps, administrations, varieties of tongues. Are all apostles? Are all prophets? Are all teachers? Are all workers of miracles? Do all have gifts of healings? Do all speak with tongues? Do all interpret? But earnestly desire the best gifts, and yet I show you a more excellent way." Keep going there in 1 Corinthians 13. "Though I speak with the tongues of men and of angels, but have not love, I have become sounding brass or a clanging cymbal. And though I have the gift of prophecy and understand all mysteries and all knowledge, and though I have all faith so that I could remove mountains, but have not love, I am nothing. And though I bestow all my goods to feed the poor, and though I give my body to be burned, but have not love, it profits me nothing." So I see in these verses 3 New Year's resolutions for a church, really a church people to make. We make them in our homes, we make them for ourselves as individuals, but I think these are 3 for the church. Number 1, think about the more excellent way. Number 2, know your motives. And number 3, love more. Now, we've been studying out of the book of 1 Corinthians here for a few weeks, and we've seen that the people in the church of Corinth were very selfish people. They were prideful. They were competitive. They had anger issues. We see that they had anger issues because they really tried to sue each other in court, and you never would think that would have to be something that would have to be done. They all wanted to feel very, very important. And the church was in rough shape. And each one of those problems goes back to a very simple solution, and that is the solution was love. And that's why we get 1 Corinthians 13 right? The most famous chapter in the book, the pivotal chapter for that church. And that's a problem, though, for us, I think, because the word love is a word that we throw around in English, right? We throw it around all the time. We say we love football. You know, I'm sure you've heard somebody say that. Oh, I love football. And then somebody says, well, I love my family, or I love my wife. And then the next day they say, I love cotton candy, right? I love elephant ears. A foreigner might hear you say that you love all of those things and wonder why you hold elephant ears and your wife, you know, at the same level. You say you love both of them. Now, some of you might be thinking, well, I do love elephant ears as much as my wife. But, you know, in the Greek language, there is several words that are translated as love. And maybe you've heard these before. This is just review. Number one is eros, Greek word eros, translated love. We get the English word erotic from that word. And that's a romantic love, a physical expression of love in marriage between a man and a wife. And by the way, that word's never actually used in the Bible. Number two, phileo. This means brotherly love or love between friends. It's care and concern for one another. And then lastly, the third word for love there is agape. This is sacrificial love, a love that gives of itself. And this is the word for love that's most often used for the love between God the Father and God the Son, and the love that they have for us. It's this agape love. And it's also the love that Christians are to have for each other. So the love that's described over and over and over again, this word love in 1 Corinthians 13, it's this agape love. Now, if you have a King James version, it says charity. And back, 400 or 500 years ago, that meant love. Now when you read charity, what does that mean, Andrea? Just like
help. Yeah.
To help somebody, like to somebody that's in need.
Yeah.
Like we think of somebody that's in need, they need clothes, so they go to the charity shop or the thrift store, benevolence of some kind. But this isn't talking about that. As we read these verses, we could easily say, and though I give all my goods to feed the poor, and though I give my body to be burned, but I have not a self-sacrificing love, it profits me nothing. So that's what agape is. It's a giving. It's a self-sacrifice. And John 3:16, the most famous verse in the Bible, says, for God so loved the world that he had an emotional feeling. And he said to everybody, I love you. Well, no, God so loved the world that he gave, right? That was a sacrificial type of giving. And that's what agape love is. And it's interesting that verse actually defines agape love. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son. So there's an action there. It's not always just a feeling, and there's an action there. And this was the root problem in the Corinthian church. They did not really truly love each other. There was not that self-sacrificing attitude of love and putting others first. And this wasn't the first time, people struggled with this agape love. In John chapter 21, when they had eaten breakfast, Jesus said to Simon Peter, Simon, son of Jonah, do you love me? Do you remember that? It was agape. Do you agape me? And he said to them, Lord, yeah, you know that I love you. But you know what he said? Phileo. And Jesus said to him, feed my sheep. Jesus said to him again a second time, Simon, son of Jonah, do you love me, agape me? And he said, yes, Lord, you know that I phileo you. And he said, tend my sheep. And Jesus said to him a third time, Simon, son of Jonah, do you phileo me? He changed it up there. Peter was grieved because he said to him a third time, do you phileo me? And he said to him, Lord, you know that I phileo you. And Jesus said to him, feed my sheep. See, Christ was trying to push Peter, and he's trying to push us, that we need to have that agape love. We need to give something up for him. Feed his sheep, not just have this cushy, friendly feelings towards him. And Peter had a difficult time understanding that message and that idea and that concept. And the people in the Corinthian church, they weren't getting that message either. So what I want us to do this year is really try to get this concept. Jesus wants us to have that self-sacrificing love, not only towards him, but also towards each other. And that's what we're kind of talking about, these New Year's resolutions for the church. John 13:34 says, "A new commandment I give you, that you agape one another, as I have loved you, that you also love one another." So, the 3 New Year's resolutions for the church. Number 1, think about the more excellent way. Now, in light of our introduction, what do you think the more excellent way is? Yeah, sacrificial love. So verse 31 from chapter 12, it says, "Earnestly desire the best gifts, and yet I show you a more excellent way." Now, there's a lot of information in just those little couple phrases in that verse. Desire the best gifts. Now, best here could actually be translated as greatest, or maybe a better word in our language would be most valuable. Desire the most valuable gifts. See, the church in Corinth thought, what did they think was the most bestest gift? What did they think was the most bestest gift? Tongues. Yeah. Which is the ability to speak different languages for witnessing purposes. They thought that was the best gift, and they were all confused, and there was people standing up in the middle of the church, jabbering and different things. And the Apostle Paul actually gives us a rank. Did you notice that? He ranks the spiritual gifts, and which one does he rank dead last? Tongues, right? So he says that tongues is actually the least valuable gift of all. So he's trying to convince the people, hey, you should want the best gifts, not the worst. And he goes, but, let's just stop talking about gifts for a minute, because I want to show you the more excellent way. That is love. So all throughout these verses, we've seen things like be content with the gifts that you have because God gave them to you. Remember that there's this diversity of gifts, and you all have at least one. And the Corinthian people knew all about the gifts, but they weren't thinking about love. They weren't thinking about love. Galatians chapter 5 says the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, long-suffering, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, self-control. Against such things there is no law. Well, they had the gift of the Spirit, but they didn't have the fruit of the Spirit. Now, what's the opposites of the fruit of the Spirit? The Bible says that's the works of the flesh. So anytime that we use a gift and it's not done in love, we're actually working according to the flesh. So that means we have to think about them before we do them. That's why Paul was saying, think about the more excellent way. Just think about it. Think about things. Not only before you do them in ministry and church, think about things before you say things. I remember one time I was a youth pastor in Iowa. I don't know if I've told this story here or not. And I'm competitive when I'm watching games, especially I start saying things. And one time I was with a friend of mine, and we were watching his daughter play basketball, and a ball got passed, and it kind of was a bad pass, and it was just slowly bouncing. And it's like nobody was hustling, nobody was running to get it. And I stood up and hustle! And my friend Charlie, he kind of started to stand up to yell too, and his wife grabbed him. No! Pulls him down. And I was the only one standing and screaming. But another time I was at a boys' game, and they hustle a little bit more out there in Iowa. But a kid made a bad pass, and it was just a horrible pass. And I said, "That was a bad pass, and you have a short neck." That's what I said. I don't know why I said it. I was so mad. I was 21 years old. And a student from the youth group right next to me, he goes, "Hey, that's his mom and aunt right in front of you." I'm like, oh man, I feel pretty stupid, right? Think about things before you say them. I learned that day. And his aunt turned around and said, "He does have a short neck." This year, as we work in church, work in ministry, even other places around, think about the more excellent way. Think about it. And that's love. The second resolution there is know your motives. What is your motive when you serve in church, when you help someone, or what is your motive when you get up in the morning when it's snowy outside just to come to church? What's your motive? I mean, I've talked to people over the years. They all have different motives, different reasons for doing things. Some people have insinuated, well, I used to hear this all the time. "Oh, I didn't come to church last week because I knew you were going to be on vacation. It was going to be a guest speaker, right? Why are you coming to church? Is it just because you want to please the pastor, or maybe please a friend, or maybe you come to church because of your parents? Maybe it makes you feel good. Maybe, there's some people that, I want to do this ministry and I want to be validated. And, some people, they do things to make money even. They write these books and they sell millions of copies. And, what is your motive for serving in church or even coming to church? Well, in this passage, there's actually only one legitimate reason to be completely submitted to the will of God and meeting the needs of others. That's love. You got to think about that more excellent way, and then you have to know your motive. The Corinthian church, they really didn't have a problem with their theology. I mean, they knew who God was, they knew who Christ was. That was not the issue. They didn't have like a major sin problem, except for that one guy in 1 Corinthians 5 that was sleeping with his mother-in-law. Their primary problem was that they weren't doing anything with the correct motive. They weren't loving. It was a love problem. So this year, as we move forward as Christians in our personal walk with the Lord, and as we move forward as a church, we need to make sure that we completely understand our motives. Know it backwards and forwards. Like before we even click and send an email, before we send a text, before maybe we start a new ministry, if we wanted to start a new ministry here at church, or maybe we want to end a ministry, or maybe we want to buy a different van, or finish our roofing project, or, put new windows around in places, or change something, the way we do things, we have to know our motives. Pray about it. I've been talking to a friend of mine on the phone, and I said, I want you to pick a verse from Psalm chapter 1 to memorize. And he texted me back verse 10, which is, "Create in me a clean heart, O God, and renew a bright spirit in me." Right? Purify my motives, Lord. I want to do this only out of love. I mean, that's mainly what we need. We need that love for one another and love within our church. I mean, I'm not saying we're just full of hate and selfishness here, but that's just something every church always needs to work on. And to think about that, how this landed right on this New Year sermon lesson. Love. So, the more excellent way is love. Or think about the more excellent way. know your motives. And then lastly, what do you need to do? You need to love agape style. Chapter 13, verse 1. Did I skip a page? Because it seems like I'm going really fast or something. Though I speak with the tongues of men and of angels, but have not love, I have become sounding brass or a clanging cymbal. And though I have the gift of prophecy and understand all mysteries and all knowledge, and though I have all faith, so that I could remove mountains, but have not love, I am nothing. And though I bestow all my goods to feed the poor, and though I give my body to be burned, but have not love, it profits me nothing. Now, do you see that at the beginning? I think it's at the beginning of every verse, and even sometimes in the middle of the verse. Do you see that word though? How many those are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Is there 5? Count 5. So the word though could also be translated if. Okay, if I speak with tongues of men, or if I have the gift of prophecy, if I have all faith, if I bestow all my goods to feed the poor, and if I give my body to even be burned, but have not love, it profits me nothing. So, if I speak with tongues, which once again we already mentioned that, it means languages. The Greek word is glossa. Even if I speak with the tongues of angels, but have not love, what's it like? Like a loud noise, sounding brass or a clanging cymbal. You know, I could be up here speaking with the tongues of angels, the spiritual heavenly language, but if I don't have love, it's a bunch of gibberish. It's like a loud noise. If I have the prophecy, and to the point, I have the gift of prophecy, to the point where I understand all mysteries, right? Where I have just incredible level of discernment. Like, you come to me and you say, Pastor Josh, look at this news article and what President Biden said. And I could look at it and I could say, this is what he really means. And you're like, whoa, that's an incredible level of discernment. I mean, look at, if I have the gift of prophecy to the point where I understand all mysteries, to where I know everything, to where I have what kind of faith? All faith. If I have this limitless faith where I can just say to this mountain or that mountain and move, and the whole mountain moves, you'd be like, whoa. But I have not love, I am nothing. Look at that. Even if you give all that you have to the poor, even if you become a martyr, you allow yourself to be killed, but do not have love, that entire thing, all those things you've done in your life, all that teaching, all that speaking, all that giving, all that faith, it profits nothing. So simply put, without love, everything we try, everything we do is worthless. Now, I don't know if you noticed this or not, but Paul here is using, I think, for you English teachers, is it called hyperbole? Where you completely exaggerate. Isn't that what that is? I think that's what that is, hyperbole, when it's just a complete, utter exaggeration. I mean, Paul is exaggerating here big time, because these things aren't even possible, right? All understanding, all knowledge. You have limitless faith. I mean, these things are just a complete exaggeration. I mean, it's impossible to know every fact in the universe or know all the mysteries of God. But Paul says, even if you did, okay, Completely hypothetical, a gigantic exaggeration. Even if you did, and you did not have love, it would all be meaningless. So we have to love in such a way as to give of ourself, that sacrificial love, that agape love. So I don't know if you noticed, but the outline is thinking, knowing, and then doing. Think about the more excellent way, which is love. Know what's the best way, love, and then do the best way, act. So, think, or know, feel, do, or think, feel, do, however, however they teach you on your making outlines on presentations. But that's the outline this morning. And think about this passage, the more excellent way, know your motives, and then love agape style. So any thoughts here in the last few minutes of wrapping this up? No thoughts? Did you get your driveway plowed?
No,
Oh, okay.
figure your sister would come do it.
Yeah,
I gotta hold my breath.
Don't you have your plow on your side by side?
Yes.
Oh,
Then I put hers on hers too. By myself. She wasn't around. It happens.
our driveway is not really that bad. The wind blew it off.
We only got about 4 inches on ours.
The church driveway has about 4 inches.
I've seen the guys out there hand shoveling. They're trying to teach Sean how to do it.
I don't know. Our plow guy, I don't think, put his plow on his truck. I'll have to ask him if I'm supposed to just drive my tractor to church. I think it goes about 20, 25 miles an hour. Take about what? Probably a little less than a half hour to get to church. Anything you think of? All right, let's close in prayer. Father God, as we consider this love in this new year, Lord, lots of different things we want to plan and do at church this year. VBS, we've talked about it, haven't done it. We need to plan ahead, but may all that be just bathed in love with the motive of love, whether we do it or whether we don't. Lord, ministries this summer that the youth group is planning, may their motive be love. Everything we do around here. Our business meeting coming up here in a couple weeks. Lord, may that just be bathed in love and everything that's said and spoken about. Just love be on their minds, love be their motives, love be their thought. Lord, whatever we do, sending out a card, calling somebody on the phone, giving an encouraging text, whatever it may be, help us to just be a church that loves not only you, but each other and the world around us with this sacrificial type of love. And that we would be a community of believers that just loves through and through. And when visitors and guests come, that they see us and they see and recognize the love that we have for each other. And we just pray these in your Son's holy and precious name. Amen.